Hello YouTube and welcome back to another World of Warships adventure with your favorite YouTuber Wadrace. And today I will be running a couple of matches of Operation Cherry Blossom. And I know that I said a couple of matches, but unfortunately one of them is relatively short. You'll understand why when I get there, and why I was actually rather disappointed to even be associated with that match in the first place. Um, the match will be taking place in my Tier 8 US heavy cruiser, the Baltimore. This is the downgraded version after the US cruiser split earlier this year, and I just kind of quickly want to run everybody through her loadout. She has 42,400 hit points, and she has up to 203 millimeters of armor, and she certainly does have a relatively decent heavy cruiser armor layout, but at that it is, again, a heavy cruiser layout. It's not anything incredibly major, and of course she does have a 4% torpedo damage reduction. For her main battery, she has 3 triple-mounted 203mm guns, or 8-inch guns, and they do 2,800 damage on the HE shells with a 14% chance of fire. They have a 10-second reload with a 26.9-second 180-degree turning circle. Also, she has a 5,000 base damage for her AP shell damage, and her maximum firing range is 15.8 kilometers. I will say that this ship does have some relatively slow muzzle velocities, especially on her AP, with only 762 meters a second, and her HE is reasonably faster, but a little bit more erratic, with a maximum muzzle velocity of 823 meters. She also has the pretty much standard secondary armament of double 127mm batteries, which is seen on the USS Atlanta. And again, these are pretty much the standard secondary batteries on most US ships above Tier 7, I believe. So there's not really much more to mention there. And overall, they are at least viable and present in the long run. I did check and make sure that I did have fully established modules here. The ship is buffed for both AA and turning circle, and, well, as she stands right now, this ship has an 82 AA rating, and her anti-air, given that she is a US heavy cruiser, is relatively powerful. And I do have this ship again buffed with AA range, and overall it does its job. Her maneuverability is 32.5 knots, which is very reasonable for a heavy cruiser. She has a 730-meter turning circle radius and a 6.3 second rudder shift. And I do have the steering gears mod 2 applied on this ship because, given that she is a heavy cruiser, she does kind of start to be a little bit sluggish on her maneuverability. She has a 11-kilometer base detection range, or I should say augmented detection range with the concealment module. She has an 8.2-kilometer detection range by air, and after firing her main battery in smoke, she has a 7.2-kilometer detectability bloom. Overall, the Baltimore is a very reasonable ship. And of course, for the commander, this is the commander that was put on her after the split. I haven't run her very often, and he is set up with preventative maintenance, expert marksman, and basic firing training. And forgive me, I was being actively pinged there for a moment. Overall, this is not a bad setup. I am still working on this captain, so he is eventually going to have some better skills. Once he gets point number 10, I'm going to invest in advanced firing training, get the AA rating up that much more. But overall, I mean, she certainly gets the job done as it is. That being said, for Cherry Blossom, I do kind of regret not having a little bit of extra AA power. Anyway, kind of diving into the first match that I was talking about, and this is the short match, I might add. You'll understand why it's short in fairly short order. Overall, we actually ended up losing this match, and I think it's a collective failing as the team, I do have to say, because just while things did kind of start off pretty well early on, as the mission developed, we just kind of started losing a lot of our collective decision-making capability, I guess you could say. It wasn't that we lost traction, mind you, it's just that the decision-making really didn't line up for everybody. Anybody who's played Cherry Blossom knows that you start out kind of at this point where we are on the map, and we first off have to rescue the 2 escaping transports while destroying destroyers that are trying to come in and take them down. And the destroyers move in from the north pretty quickly, but, you know, as long as the fire is focused well enough, they can go down relatively quickly as well. But then, near the beachhead on the west corner of the map, there are a couple of heavy cruisers that pop up after a short period of time. Both of them are Miyoko class, so tier 7 Japanese cruisers. And we actually learn in this mission that they have to be taken down very, very quickly, because they don't give any attention at all to the friendly ships that are coming in to support the beachhead. The downside of that, of course, being that with them not paying attention to the ships, all of their fire is going onto the beachhead. If they aren't taken down quickly, they can actually rack up a lot of damage. Even more so if they are not actually focused down before they drop off detection, and you have to actually close the gap to reacquire them. It also doesn't help that at this stage we had enemy cruisers that were starting to move in from the north, and even though we have these 2 very notable targets at the beachhead that need to be taken down, it seems like at this point is where the decision-making really kind of starts going awry, because everybody starts shooting at the cruisers that are coming in from the north instead of paying any real attention to the cruisers that are shooting on the beachhead. I don't know why. I think I'm actually the only one who was still keeping fire on the ships that were threatening the beachhead, but obviously 1 tier 8 cruiser against 2 tier 7 cruisers, one of which is undetected, and none of them are even paying any attention to us, really doesn't cut it. And as you can see, we've also completely lost detection on one of the enemy Miyokos, which is just going to town on the shore installments. The other thing that doesn't help is that I was actually kind of conserving my radar. I don't know about any of the other players on my team, but I mean, there was definitely radar to go around. So how these destroyers actually snuck past us to get to the beachhead is really kind of puzzling. That being said, it was probably a good idea to keep focus on the Miyokos at the beachhead, but letting the destroyers get through. And that's the big thing here, is the destroyers got through. And once they get through, they turn their attention over to the beachhead as well. And if it were just the Miyoko, we finally did get one of them down, but if it was just the one Miyoko shooting on the beachhead, it wouldn't be a problem. But the collective firepower of the destroyers and the Miyoko on the beachhead, at this point it's like the beachhead disintegrates. And we just kind of really, well, fail very, very hard and fast in the first 6 minutes of this match. And yeah, I mean, that's how this first match, how my first attempt on Cherry Blossom today actually went. And I do have to say it's very, very disappointing. I also do not have any of the results screens to show you. Again, that being said, as you can imagine, they were abysmally bad. In the background here, definitely goes substantially better. In the span of one match, I went from a 0-star to a 5-star match on Cherry Blossom. And I think in part it's because I do have a couple of moments where RNG blesses me quite dramatically. For example, detonating a destroyer on the second salvo. On top of that, I'm closer to the targets, which, given that I'm not exactly familiar with the Baltimore and her slow muzzle velocities, it does help my aim substantially being close to the targets. And when my aim can be that good, I am a very, very good shot in this game. And it definitely shows, because most of my rounds are pretty much on target. And I do my best to keep my fire on the destroyers. And the other thing that you'll note is it seems like the team is actually doing a very decent job of focusing down individual ships instead of spreading the fire around, which is another key point of note here. Now, the last two destroyers do kind of take a little bit longer to take down, but they go down in very short order well, in respect to one another at least. And, I mean, we're pretty much already through. The transports are safe. There are going to be some torpedoes that kind of come across the way, but the transports don't take any of the torpedoes, and overall everybody actually ends up relatively safe, aside from the one friendly Cleveland who took a torp for the team. And now, of course, we have the Miyogos that are starting to pop up, and they are at the extreme end of my range. And again, this is where I have to say that I think RNG actually blessed me quite notably for this match. Because this first Miyogo, I do get in a couple of decent hits at first. But this next salvo, first off, I'm seeing that going through the air. That is some beautiful dispersion, if I do say so myself. And 5 hits to the Citadel. Wow. I did not see that coming at the time of the match, and it definitely helped out quite dramatically, because that's already one heavy cruiser that has been thoroughly removed from the match. But one of the other things you'll notice is that for this match, I actually took it upon myself, at least for this initial stage, having just come from the loss of the previous match, to call out targets that I thought were, I guess, priorities. Basically meaning the ones that were closer to the beachhead, that were focusing on the beachhead, and they just needed to be taken down. They needed to be taken out. Unfortunately, the one Miyoko was out of my range, and while it's undetected, I do have the Albas to shoot at. And they are, well, while they aren't exactly high priority targets, they are still targets that need to be taken down. And it seems like the rest of the team is at least putting in their efforts on focusing down the destroyers. The destroyers are at least detected. They're not within spitting distance of the beachhead. And, I mean, they're being dealt with. So I do feel a little bit more comfortable in putting a little bit of fire on these Albas, which are broadside to me, and I am using AP. And, of course, once they're down, I can always bring my fire back to the enemy Miyako and to the destroyers. And overall, I mean, this match is already going substantially better than the first match that I've shown you all. And nice thing is, once the Miyoko comes back on detection, or I should say once I actually have my attention back on the Miyoko, I switch over to AP, and again, RNG blesses me, and I take it down. I actually did reasonably well this match. And I do have to say that the team, again, this is a collective team effort for the entire mission, we all did relatively well keeping things defended. I mean, yeah, the beachhead did take substantial damage, but it's far from a loss. It's far from losing any of the checkpoints. And that is one of the big things that contributes to our success in this mission, because we do defend the beachhead and get to move on to stage 2 with both of the shore installments intact. And of course, the destroyers, we've already gotten the notification that the enemy's trying to pull out, so the destroyers are trying to back away, but, you know, they're caught between the beach and a bunch of heavy and light cruisers. They kind of melt very quickly. Especially when you consider that we have 3 Baltimores, 3 Clevelands, and for whatever reason, 1 Charles Martel. I'm not sure what to think about the Charles Martel being here, but I mean, hey, he's not doing too badly, so I'm not going to complain. He's certainly not being a detriment to the team, let me put it that way. We do have the 1 Cleveland that took hits early on, and I think he's actually the one who dies a little bit later on in this match. But, I mean, overall, we actually get through this match losing only 1 ship on our team, which, again, for a couple of the attempts that I've seen on Cherry Blossom, is a reasonably decent accomplishment. Of course, now that we are in stage 2, we're starting to move north to go after the enemy airfields to the north here, or I should say to the northwest corner of the map. And I'm detected, I know there are destroyers incoming, and I'm just waiting for them to pop up so that I can give them what for. And unfortunately I guess I could say my prediction of where they were going to pop up was a little off, but my guns weren't exactly far away. And for the first time in this match, I believe, I actually popped the radar. Actually, no, it was the second time. The first time was to keep the other group of destroyers pilot in smoke near the beachhead. This is the second time, and it's to keep these destroyers detected so that my team can focus them down and keep our incoming aircraft carriers and destroyers well defended from them. And because I have taken a fair bit of damage, I do swing in to take advantage of the healing circle here, and just otherwise keep my ship in the fight as long as I possibly can. I do, unfortunately, block one of the carriers, but that's not exactly a bad thing. It's not like friendly fire is a thing in the scenarios. So it's really just a minor blip on the radar as far as mistakes made. And of course, here come the enemy aircraft. Now, of course the Baltimore has defensive AA, and I do open up with DFAA here. And I think it's at this point that the Tier 8 or the 82 AA rating kind of shows its colors a little bit in that when it's spread out between all of these planes, all of these torpedo bombers that are coming in, it really kind of struggles to knock them out. But again, this is a Tier 8 operation, and I actually sailed into what is the cluster of the rest of the team, where these are all Tier 8 heavy cruisers with very substantial AA ratings, and under this kind of combined anti-air aura, all aircraft just melt. They melt very quickly. Unfortunately, I do run into a torpedo, but that's not the only thing that really causes me any concern, because I'm also looking at the Otago, the other enemy ships on the team are kind of starting to come into play, and I just kind of start realizing that maybe I want to get back into the healing circle as I take a little bit more damage being on the front line. So I make a very poignant effort of circling around and back into the healing circle to get myself, I guess I could say, to get myself healed up. And while I'm doing that, I decided to put some shots out on the enemy Atago. And my first couple of shots definitely go a little bit too far to the rear, but they are at least close to the target. And all I really have to do otherwise is adjust my aim and fire again. And at that point, RNG kind of did let me down a little bit, but I've got AP rounds out, and those do find their mark. So AP denied, or sorry, RNG denied me and then blessed me yet again. And I mean, I keep coming back to that same rough pattern overall as this match progresses. I get decent damage on the Miyoko that was giving me broadside, and I earn the natural selection medal here. And of course, now we have more aircraft that are coming in, but again, we've got a pool of heavy cruiser anti-air batteries just waiting to decimate all of these aircraft. And even though I have popped DFAA because they're getting in range of my anti-air batteries as well, I'm not the one who's actually shooting any of these planes down at this point. In fact, I don't actually shoot any more planes down myself for the remainder of the match. Everybody else kind of has substantially better luck at it than I do. We do have our one Cleveland who is in a substantial amount of trouble. I think he's the one who actually dies during this. I could be wrong. I lose track of who dies and who doesn't, honestly. But again, whichever one that it is, he was effective in the match. He did his job well for the match. And what's more is, we only lost the one. Which again, from what I've seen in regards to this operation, losing only one friendly ship and still coming away with 5 stars, like this match does, is very, very respectable. And, of course, now that everybody is mostly healed up with the exception of the 2 Clevelands, we start pushing. We start pushing forward to 1, take out the enemy aerodromes, and 2, finish off the enemy fleets. And with this many heavy cruisers pushing and focusing on destroyers, mainly at this point, the enemy fleet really just kind of... It falls apart very quickly. And, I mean, overall, this match is... It's not over, but it can be basically called over. Because there's nothing really left that's substantial enough to actually do substantial amounts of damage to the friendly team unless they get just a little bit too close. Overall, I mean, the last little bit is just kind of hunting everything down, chasing down the destroyers, and working on the aerodromes. Now, I don't focus on the aerodromes as much as I would have liked, but I was trying to at least secure the sea lanes so that we could get through and get close enough. And what's more is I just really didn't have the range in one case or the angle in another to actually get fire on the enemy airfields. Overall, though, it still wasn't too bad. And I'm still contributing to the team because I'm working on destroyers, I'm working on, again, enemy ships. It's still contributing. It may not be contributing necessarily to the objectives, but it is still contributing to the teamwork. And as you can see, I do kind of try to get my attention over the airfield, but I just realized that I don't have the angle, so I come back to get my attention onto destroyers. And, I mean, that's pretty much how I finish out this match. Overall, it's definitely not a bad run. In fact, for lack of anything else to any other way to describe it, it was a very phenomenal run. And you'll see why. Again, this match came out with a 5-star success rating, which is phenomenal. I think it's the first time I've actually gotten up to the 5-star rating on this mission. Now, I was running a bunch of bonus flags, so I earned 782,963 credits. I earned 18,000 experience points, 12,000 free EXP. I also got the natural selection medal. I did 108,000 damage overall for the match with 10 citadels, 9 ships destroyed. I came in second for my team. The friendly Cleveland Urban Wind did better than me, and, well, yeah, that's definitely worth a compliment, to say the least. And overall, just not too bad at all. I had 2,141 base experience points earned for the match, and again, this was also with the natural selection, C-Star, and the assistant medals awarded for completing the match. As far as everything else goes, I mean, just look at this string of ships that I damaged. I mean, I may not have sunk all of them, but I did a lot of damage across a lot of ships. And the 12 aircraft that I destroyed were 7 from one aerodrome and 5 from another. I mean, I didn't do too badly, if I do say so myself. And of course, coming back to the final stages, again, I'm running a lot of bonuses here, so keep up with me. My net earnings for the match were 666,000 credits, 353. I also earned, again, 18,000 experience points for the match, 12,037 free EXP. Again, all kinds of bonus flags on this ship. That's actually part of why I ran the Cherry Blossom today. And of course, for my commander, I earn 1 skill point with 45,000 commander experience points earned for a 5-star match on Operation Cherry Blossom. Anyway, I am just about out of time, so I will let you all go and see you next time.